really got me. And most of the time, it mostly pertained to how well people connected with me, and it was so fast that I was like, this is going to be perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I remember being on the opposite side of that message, and, like, he sends me a message and said, I'm just going to do it. And I was like, wow. Like, it was literally like 1:30 in the morning. I was like, am I seeing this right? I mean, he was one of my projects. I mean, I tried so hard, and then Ethan can talk about it as well, being one of his roommates. Like, we tried really hard, and incredibly happy that you ultimately did decide to do it. Like, what has been the best thing that you've experienced over the last, 3 months or so?
I mean, it definitely pertains to all the people that I've met. So, like, in 3 months, I've now have 52 contacts on my phone that I would not have had before. And, like, I've gotten to connect with alumni. We've done so many different workshops. Like, we just did a LinkedIn one this previous, Wednesday. That was very beneficial for what we're going to, have to do in the future. But definitely, I think my favorite thing throughout the past 3 months, well, it's kind of hard to pick from, but I would definitely have to say pretty much all the fundraisers that we've done. They've always been really good, especially for the outcome of what we've received on the end of how successful they are. And especially the hot dog ones, those are always really good because we all get together, sit around a table, booth outside, and just have a good time and sell hot dogs to other people.
Yeah, unless you're me, pass out of in result of exhaustion. I was not okay, and I appreciate my brothers for really picking me up and realizing, hey, he needs to go home. He needs to take a nap. Well, not even take a nap, just go to bed. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
Yeah, well, that was something that was interesting because I wasn't able to go to the fundraiser last weekend. But like Andrew, it was obviously a very long weekend for our fraternity because we wanted to make sure that the weekend was special for each and every one of our new members as they became newly initiated brothers. But yeah, you talk about that moment, Drew, on Wednesday. Like Andrew said on Wednesday night, where he just texted like, "I'm in." So when you said 10%, was it just like you're just kind of riding the wave, but not really on it, so to speak? Or how were you assessing it like in that time?
So at the time, I remember very clearly trying to think so hard of all the negatives of joining, and I couldn't. I probably sat down with a pen and paper for 30 minutes, and it just didn't go well. And then as soon as I switched to trying to think of all the positives, it was like literally like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I was like, well, I have to do it at this point. And also my mom was also very supportive of doing it. Like she said, you only have 4 years in college. Like, do what you want and spend your time how you want. Because you're never going to be this young in this position ever again in your life.
Once you get that sort of family approval, because that was kind of for me where I was thinking about it. I knew I kind of wanted to do it, but wasn't really sure if I was ready to jump in. And as I was talking about the decision with my family, they were in support of it too, for many of the same reasons that you had said. And yeah, I think that's something where it's like we're both very analytical people. We both like to think, but it's sometimes one of those things where you just got to say, you know what, enough's enough. Other people aren't really thinking about it. They're just doing it. Let's just jump in and get it done. So that was, I mean, it's a good observation. That's good to kind of think about whenever, we do go through recruitment processes for future semesters. But I do want to bring in Ethan as well here, just kind of start this conversation off with you, Ethan. And just like I said to Drew, congratulations on becoming a brother. But what was your path to being interested in joining Kappa Sigma and then going through that process?
I'd say mine's probably the complete opposite of Drew's. I talked to a few of the brothers and instantly was down. So
it was just real easy then, real simple, because I remember from the way beginning of the semester you were showing clear and obvious interest about it. But when did you first meet people from Kappa Sigma? Did that go back to freshman year then, I'm assuming, or how did that happen?
Yeah. So I had met Drew and our other roommate, Chris. I had met them, and they already know Drew, the other Drew in here.
Yeah.
And so when I got into contact with him, anybody will tell you, when you listen to him and he talks to you, all he'll tell you is this, and it's the best thing ever. He'll tell you exactly what you want to hear, and automatically you're going to go, it's not that bad. Yeah. And then you're going to think about it, and then you're going to go to your parents give you the yes, you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to for sure do this now.
That's, I mean, a lot of people can tell that Andrew has been kind of the one who has really put people at the forefront as far as, like, you know, encouraging them to rush, encouraging them to join. And I think, you know, his confidence in it gave me confidence for sure. And it gave me enough confidence to say, listen, like, you know, when I'm talking to my parents, because obviously one of the concerns about Greek life is often the secrecy of it, you know, and there's a lot of uncertainty about it. But when Andrew talks, there is a sort of feeling of ease that a lot of your concerns, they're put to rest immediately, so you can present to your family very easily, like, look, this is what he spelled out. Here's here's everything we're looking at. Here's what it's going to look like if I do join. So he's made it very clear, and that's what I tell people all the time. Like, whenever they talk to me about it, like, I tell them, like, Andrew, like, he is very honest about it. So
I was just say, I think the amount of times I've gotten a text from him that explains something that I've copied and pasted and sent right to my mother. Or I remember one day over the summer, he called me and for an hour straight gave me all the pros and even gave me some cons. Like, he wasn't trying to fully sell me. He was trying to be like, look, it takes time. Like, if you really want to be a part of it, you're going to have to sacrifice some things. So, like, he will give you the entire thing. He won't just sell you on the pros. He'll give you the cons so you can actually sit and think about it.
Yeah, and I credit my parents for that, honestly. And I also credit our former president, Brandon Akers, and our other former president, Trenton Clauser. Those two really shaped me into who I am within the Kappa Sigma organization. But in terms of, like, honesty, that's something that my parents really, like, raised me on was I'm going to be completely honest. Like, they told me to be completely honest at all times. No matter what, if I'm going to tell you the good, the bad, it sounds so much better and people are going to believe you more if you're just telling them straight up and you're just a straight up person. Like, I'm not the type of person that's going to sugarcoat stuff or anything like that. I'm just going to tell you how it is. And, you know, my mindset is you can either like it or you can not. That's okay. But, I mean, I remember that call very well. I mean, I was actually on the way to my girlfriend's house, and she lives up in State College, and there's big mountains up there, and, like, your cell service, it's like a roller coaster. It goes up, and you're at, like, 5 bars, and then all of a sudden you're at no service. And I was, like, panicking. I was like, man, this is a really good conversation, and I'm like, I'm going to lose this guy. And, like, I was, like, freaking out regarding it, but, no, I mean, I just remember it was a really good conversation, and, I mean, Ethan was one of the first people I really connected with in terms of recruitment for the fall semester. I mean, him and I just kind of clicked very, very quickly. And I do remember, you know, you and your previous girlfriend, she was she's in an organization that is close with us. And I remember you guys split up and you came to me and you're like, dude, like, please don't, like, not like me or anything like that. And I'm like, that's not what it is. That's not what it is. I said, you and I have a general connection. I said, that weighs so much more. You know what I mean? And I don't know. It's just like, that's how I felt, was like, I created that connection with you, and I knew it was something special. And, I mean, I remember sitting during the summertime, and I'm like, man, we're going to get, like, 3 guys in the fall. Like, Owen, Ethan, and Chris. And, like, those are 3 fantastic guys that I was like, that kind of sucks. But ended up with 15. That's remarkable.
Yeah. Well, that conversation, I'll never forget the day that, you know, I was sitting with Andrew, and, you know, it was lucky, like I said, I was able to be here in the summer. So it was me, Andrew, and then one of our brothers, Alex. And we all were, like, Andrew obviously oversees rush responsibilities. Alex and I were on the committee. And I remember sitting there in mid-August, and Andrew, like, you looked us dead in the eyes and you said, I think we've got 5. And then I kind of like did a double take. I was shocked by that. And then obviously when it comes to our new member education program, we had, I think, was it 5 or 6 people that were overseeing that? So I was kind of like, wait, we're going to have 5 people overseeing new member education, and then we're going to have 5 new members altogether. I was just like, this is not going to work. But then next thing you know, throughout the next month, we chipped away. We found, we're up to 6 to 7. All of a sudden, we were at 10, a dozen. And then by the end of rush week, we're sitting down, and you guys were looking at the list, and we had 15. Unbelievable what the chapter was able to do within that month to find these people and to find you guys. But like Andrew asked earlier, Ethan, what was your favorite part of the past couple of months when it came to becoming a new member and then eventually becoming a brother? What did you enjoy the most?
Honestly, I would say we had something called Text a Brother, where we had to reach out to every single brother in our fraternity, no matter if we knew them personally or not. Like, there were a few guys overseas, there were a few guys that, you don't see a lot. So I think that was a really good way to, like, first off, get the contact of your brothers. Second off, to kind of introduce yourself. And third, to maybe make a relationship that you didn't know you would have had if you didn't get those numbers.
Yeah, that was a good thing. That's not something that our new member class did. And it was something that, like, whenever I saw that you guys were doing, I was kind of like, that would have been nice. Because I'll be honest, whenever I became a brother, there were multiple brothers that were, like, actively involved in the chapter that I just simply didn't know their names. I honestly never knew them. And that was something that I was kind of embarrassed about, reflecting back on. But that's something that would have definitely helped our class for sure. And I'm glad that helped you guys, because it helped me as well. It was something I enjoyed getting each day. It was just like, oh, someone's talking to me, even if that was sort of like one of the things that we were, almost requiring. It was something that I enjoyed to hear, just because, again, it was a good effort by especially Connor Skiles. He oversaw all of new member education this semester, and he did a wonderful job with it for sure. So I really enjoyed seeing it from the other end of it too. So like Drew said earlier, you have 52 contacts now in your phone because of what just happened this semester. But obviously, we're still going here on Greek Speak, WSYC 88.7 FM from Shippensburg University. We'll be back in just a second. Where is it? Oh.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. That was fun.
I just remember that conversation.
No, that was
and,
fun.
like,
WSYC 88.7 FM from
All right, do you want to pick up from the other end? I'm kind of like running out right now.
All things Greek life with Luke Rainey, Andrew Mercier, plus special guests every Friday at 10 a.m.
Thank you, Luke. So Ethan, I mean, ever since you've become a newly initiated brother, I mean, I think you and I have had like 1 or 2 meetings, and you can ask anyone in the brotherhood. As soon as they hear me and say the word meeting, a lot of them like start rolling their eyes. They're like, "Oh my god, like why?" But like that's just how I am. I'm a more structured person. I like to sit down, have structured meetings, because then we're actually talking about business, and like I'd rather just take an hour out of my day to get business done, and then we can have fun. We can go and play Madden. We can do whatever you want. You know what I mean? But you've come to me and said like, "Hey, I have aspirations of doing more in the fraternity in the future." So like, you want to talk about like what are your goals like now that you've become a newly initiated brother?
Yeah. So you and I, like you said, have had multiple meetings. We had a few conversations before, like right before initiation, about possibly running for the scribe and other EC positions, because that's a good way to get your step up to the GMC position in our fraternity. So we had a meeting about that, how I should go about that, what chairs I should hold, to maybe get some idea of how that would work. And I know you and I had talked the other day with Owen, Cody, and Zach Taylor in the Brotherhood meeting, and how he wanted to take a little bit off Zach Taylor's plate for his last semester here. So I know that me and Owen have a few good ideas about what we could do for Brotherhood. I know Cody's got some amazing ideas about what we could do for Brotherhood. So I think just you being able to give Zach Taylor the break as well gives him so much to do, like, you know what I mean, not to do, but he can actually come to stuff and enjoy it. Because whenever I see Zach Taylor at some things, it's a Brotherhood event. Sometimes he's a little stressed out because there's so much going on and nobody's there to help him.
Yeah, and I credit his efforts so much. I mean, he's got to be by far the best Brotherhood chair we've ever had. Honestly, in the past, it's just been like the president that's just like organized Brotherhood events. And Brotherhood events can vary in things like watching basketball, you know, playing sports with each other like cornhole and water polo and stuff like that. Or, you know, as I said, watching any type of sporting event. We also have a big one every Thanksgiving. We do a Friendsgiving, and that's always a huge success. And I credit Zach so much. But, I mean, I kind of came into it, and I was like, you know, I know he's a busy guy, and, you know, I always want my chairs to be, you know, open and honest with me. Like, I do check-ins with him, like, hey, how's it going? Like, are you doing okay? And, you know, I could see his stress. And, honestly, he's done so much for the fraternity that, if anything, this is just me paying him back. He deserves to have a last hurrah, like, just a chill semester. So, I was going to do my part to be able to give him that. And I appreciate you, Owen, and Cody for stepping up and, you know, wanting to help Zach because, as I said, he deserves it. I mean, you just said, like, I can vouch for you. Like, literally seeing him at these Brotherhood events, he's, like, hands on his head, like, oh, my gosh, like, do I even want to talk to him? I'm scared to talk to him. But, yeah. I mean, that's, you know, kind of going to our talk the other day, like, you know, you were very open with me, and I'm also very open with you. And that just kind of goes back to the main point of what I said. I'm an open person. I'm an honest person. You know, you showing these aspirations of wanting to get involved makes me incredibly happy because I'm always looking towards the future. I mean, I'm a junior year now. Got 3 semesters left after this. You know, I do want to, quote-unquote, groom my replacement. I you know, pick my brain, get the information from me. Because, like, that's what I did to Akers and Trenton. I probably drove them nuts, and they told me that. But, like, Trenton has told me so many times after, like, how thankful he is that I did ask the questions. And, like, I remember at our leadership conference this summer, I was the only one out of our group that was asking questions. And they're like, hitting me. They're like, Drew, stop asking questions. Stop. It's embarrassing. And I'm like, well, how am I supposed to get anything out of this if I'm not going to ask questions and interact with other chapters? So, I mean, yeah. I mean, what's going on academically? Like, what classes are you taking this semester? What's your major? What's your goals?
I'm a history ed major. So right now I'm taking History 201, I'm taking Sociology, Art, Appreciation, and a few other classes. But my goal right now is I want to be a high school teacher because they were like a good role model for me when I was younger, so I'd really like to be that for somebody else. And I also could get the summers off still. That sounds really nice.
Well, it depends. Some education programs, yes, some no. I can tell you that. So don't bank on those summers being there for you one day, but they might be. Yeah, it's great though. Like, especially education, obviously, there's still such a need for it, at all high schools and especially in rural communities too. Need for good quality educators. So it's good that you're taking that initiative and showing that effort. But I want to bring Drew back in. Drew Williams, at least. Got 2 Drews in the studio, so it's kind of tough to differentiate. But Drew, kind of backtracking a little bit to what Andrew and Ethan were talking about. Your goals related to your involvement within the fraternity. What are you thinking? So, like, obviously, you're 5 days into the Brotherhood, so to speak. I mean, as a new member, you've been basically with us for about 3 months now. So, down the stretch, what are your thoughts?
I really do want to continue to foster a sense of unity amongst the fraternity, because I feel like that's always important. Like, if you can have a fraternity or some sort of like official organization, but if you're not connected, there's really nothing there to drive upon. You know, if I'm...
Yeah, it's exactly right, yeah.
Yeah. And then I also want to ensure that we continue academic excellence among the organization as well. Like, that is really important to me. And I know that that's important to a lot of other guys in the organization. Because what was it? We had, wasn't it the highest fraternal organization?
We're the highest fraternity when it comes to a GPA, so we are the best performing in that category.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm very interested in, like, taking on any sort of role amongst scholarship or education in that form, because that is a really big interest of mine, and it's always been important in my life.
Yeah, and what's even more impressive about it is that it is the male average here at Shippensburg University. We are higher than that. So we are above the male average in that regard. But what I'll say is this, as you mentioned about the unity in the fraternity. With 52 people in it, it's becoming tougher. It's probably become tougher and tougher to make sure that all 52 are connected with one another. And I was thinking about this the other day, and this is just, obviously, it's just very, very rough estimates. But you look at Shippensburg University and the total number of students, and it is just below 5,000. Again, just rough estimate there. That means that 1%, over 1% of all Shippensburg University students are actively brothers of Kappa Sigma today, which is pretty impressive. So that means if you run into 100 Shippensburg University students, your odds are good that at least one of them is a Kappa Sigma brother. I think that says a lot about what we've been able to accomplish for the past several months and even the past several years in the chapter, especially post-pandemic, to ensure that. But yeah, I mean, ensuring unity within the fraternity, ensuring that everyone feels connected to one another, it is a tough responsibility, but it's one that you can handle for sure. I have a lot of confidence in you, Drew, and I think that's also going to go to your future goals. So what like Andrew asked Ethan earlier, what are you studying and what are you looking to do one day?
Well, currently I'm an exercise science major. It's the human performance and fitness context. I've always wanted to be a university professor or some sort of research scientist. So my concentration for that, if I do go to get my PhD for that, it would definitely be in like eccentric controls and concentric contractions for hypertrophy, and overall strength and conditioning purposes.
So eccentric and high-centric for hypertrophy. What was the word again?
Hypertrophy.
Hypertrophy.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we can define that in like a little bit more of a
So
common speak.
Hypertrophy is I'm trying to, without using heavy scientific words, it's basically the context of how you can optimally grow muscle the fastest is the best way that I can simple it down for you. And eccentric and concentric control is, eccentric is when is extension, and concentric is flexion.
Okay, good. So that research then, it's what's there still to be known in the field, so to speak.
There's a lot to be known. It is like whether it's training anything from different volume perspectives, training anything from different like points of attachment. So I'll give you an example. Like a recent study just came out maybe about a month ago, where it says that training calves with knees fully locked out at a position where you are training only 50% of the range of motion is actually more effective than training all the range of motion, which is very counterproductive in what you would be thinking.
Why was that?
So the calf muscle, you use that every single day. So the researchers were thinking that it's going to take some redundancy to really figure out what's going to effectively grow the calf. It's just going to take a lot more concentration on what's going to work. So like just to give you an example of that, but there are so many different things out there that still need to be studied and that can be applied to modern medicine, physical therapy, anything like that. So it's just always been an interest.
Right. And I guess that for something related to human health, I mean, that is something where, the research components, the experimental designs that go into it have to be very, very intense for something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But where do you get your passion for that type of work, number one, and then number two, the drive to eventually one day be a faculty member for a university?
It all started senior year of high school when I started lifting weights to get better at basketball and baseball, and I was like, wow, I actually kind of like this more than the sport that I'm playing. So then, what is it? Almost 2 years now later, from that point, it's just completely taken over my life. Like, I look at scientific studies about that. It's just one of my main focuses every day.
Right, and I'll talk about I'm not one that frequently goes to the weight room here on campus, so to speak. If you look at me, I think sometimes that comes obvious. But what I'll ask you is this kind of ties back into that friendship aspect of fraternity. We obviously have a lot of brothers who go to the weight room, who work out. How has being in the weight room, and how has that expanded your connection to people in Kappa Sigma?
It's been great. I see so many of the brothers in there. We work out together. We'll spot each other. We'll just, most of the time, we actually don't even work out. We'll just talk for a while, and then we'll forget that we're working out. So that's always great. But, I mean, it's always great to have a conversation, because everywhere I go, I always see at least one brother.
And that goes like what I said earlier about the population size that we have on this campus related to it. But so you talked about high school sports. You said it was basketball and baseball, correct?
Yeah.
All right. So tell us about those experiences. What were those like?
They were amazing. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I played baseball for 15 years. I played basketball for 6. It's just something that I played early on in my life with baseball, and then I just continued it on, and basketball is just something that I picked up later, and it's more of a hobby. I've also picked up golf over the past couple of years, because I really don't want to be horrible at golf when I'm like 64.
Yeah.
But fun fact, we just started a Shippensburg University golf team.
Yes, I heard about that.
We just got that approved a couple months ago.
Yeah.
I'm currently the treasurer of the Shippensburg golf team. We have Zion he's the secretary, and then we have Brady Cree, he's one of my friends from high school, and then Ethan Hoffman is also another one of my friends. They're both the officers. So right now we have about 30 members interested, 22 signed.
Wow, that's incredible for a first year, and that's. So you said you just got that launched, obviously went through the approval process, things like that. To start an organization, I mean, running an organization, I have involvements in 5 organizations, I think, on campus at this moment, maybe 6 or 7. I can't even think about all of them on top of my head. But being involved in them is tough enough. Running them is extremely difficult, but starting one, my goodness. Were you a part of like the effort? So obviously being the treasurer on the officer board for its inaugural year, what did that approval process look like? Like how'd you figure out how to get that done?
Well, Ethan Hoffman, he was the main character for that. He took care of a lot of the dealing with the wreck, like the shipwreck, and their whole spiel about club sports and everything. He tried to get one started last year, and I showed interest in it as well, but they really quickly shut it down. But the main guy at the Cub, I forget his name, but he's always wanted to get a Shippensburg golf team back here ever since they paved over the little 9-hole course that used to be over there, right where the soccer fields are.
Golf course?
It was like 3. No, it wasn't 9. It was like 3 or 6 little holes. It was right there where the softball and soccer field are.
Unbelievable.
So ever since they got rid of those, he's always been itching to get a golf team back. So I think he was pretty happy when we really pushed forward some effort this year.
Where are some places to go golfing around here that you guys normally go to?
Well, we were probably going to stick to my hometown because, we're my friend's dad and my friend as well, they both work there. So we were probably going to try and set up a deal. It's a Gettysburg National golf course in I guess it's technically in Gettysburg. It's more close to Fairfield, which is where me and a lot of my friends came from.
Okay. Nice. I mean, it's definitely a good recreational activity for those who enjoy it. And like you said, it's probably one of those sports that decades from now, whenever you have grandchildren, it's still something you can still play.
Yeah.
Really, really good, Drew. And it's been a great conversation so far in this half hour. Obviously, a lot more to go here on Greek Speak with WSYC 88.7 FM at Shippensburg University in Shippensburg, Pennsylvania. We'll be back in just a moment.
Can we ask questions?
Out here, in the middle of all these acres, it can feel like you're the only person on Earth. And sometimes, that's how it feels when you're going through tough times. Stress builds up, you have trouble sleeping, maybe your mind is racing and you just don't feel like yourself. So what do?
Okay, one more liner, and that's the only thing we have to do.
Lots of people are struggling with their mental health. It's more common than you think. The good news is, there are people in our community who are here for us when times are tough. Sometimes, just talking to someone can make all the difference in the world, so we don't feel so alone. One thing you can do is visit loveyourmindtoday.org for simple steps you can take to find the right solution for you. Whether it's hearing stories about what other people are going through, or finding the resources we need to navigate the stresses in our lives. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Okay, back at it here on Greek Speak, WSYC 88.7 FM, Shippensburg University in Shippensburg, Pennsylvania. Great conversation so far with two of our newest brothers, Drew Williams and Ethan Karras. Thank you guys for both taking some time out today. And I kind of want to flip the discussion a little bit to you two here, because we've been asking you guys a lot of questions kind of like leading the discussion, but I'm sure you guys have some questions for us and what exactly the rest of your time with Kappa Sigma is going to look like. Again, you're 5 days into being a brother, and this is a brotherhood for a lifetime, so there's probably, I don't know, about 20,000 to 25,000 days left to go for you guys to still be brothers in Kappa Sigma, if I'm doing the math right in my head. So what thoughts do you have?
Honestly, I'm just excited. I'm excited to see who I meet, where I get to go, you know, the things I learn as a Kappa Sig.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely the same thing that I kind of came in with, was, like, what life lessons am I going to learn? And I can definitely say that I've learned a lot of, like, life lessons in terms of, like, responsibility and accountability and stuff like that. I mean, I mentioned it last week with Bridget, like, literally I had an interview at Red Robin, and literally the second question, she was like, well, I see you're part of Kappa Sigma. And then she, like, mentioned other stuff like this. She's like, what have you learned from that, and what can that help you? How can that help you in the job field? So, you know, that definitely was, like, an eye-opener there. I was like, wow, like, it really does mean something. So, oh, sorry. I'm a little too tired, man. Been waking up too early for this. But, I don't know. I'm just, incredibly excited to see what all 15 of you guys do. I mean, you guys are the future of this organization. You put us back over 50, which is the first time that we've been over 50 since the COVID-19 pandemic, which is absolutely incredible. I mean, honestly, for the pandemic, people thought this place was, like, Greek life was done, just because people were scared to go out and get involved in stuff, because, I mean, who wouldn't be? I mean, the pandemic, the COVID-19 was spreading like wildfire. I mean, I had it once. It was awful. I remember my whole family had it, and I had it the worst. I was the last one to show symptoms, and I remember I was like sitting there, and I'm like, oh, why does my nose feel weird? And then I sprayed cologne on my hand everywhere, and I like put it down all over my hand, and I went and smelled it, and I'm like, I can't smell my cologne. And my cologne is probably one of the strongest colognes you could possibly buy. And I was like, that's fantastic. So then I also went to buy a piece of pizza, or went to heat up a piece of pizza, and I went to eat it, and I literally could taste nothing. So I was like, this is miserable. But, like, what do you do on your side, like, do on the side, like, what do you do during the summertime that, like, keeps you busy?
Usually I just work. I work at Dick's Sporting Goods. So a lot of my time is kept up working. But then, other than that, I usually hang out with some of my high school buddies, go hiking. Drew actually lives 15 minutes from me, so last summer I think I was at his house every single day. Whether it was the morning or night, I was over there. And then Chris lives an hour from us, so it's not hard to do exactly what we do here back home, because we're all in driving distance.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, like this summer being in this area, because like I'm from the western side of the state, we don't have there are not a lot of people that come from that side of the state who go here. Actually, like it is predominantly a south central, southeast PA belt. So being down here this summer, this is the first summer I ever spent outside of my hometown, and I can tell you one thing for sure is it was special. There was something about going to work, this summer in the Capitol complex in Harrisburg, and then spending the evening at a brother who lives in Elizabethtown, and Dylan Malone, just going to his house for an evening, then going right back to work the next day, and then and once I went back home, I'd go back down to the house at Kappa Sigma, hang out with the people there. Like this was probably the best summer of my life. I can say that, bar none. So I'm glad to hear you got to do much of the same thing with Drew as well. But I think that speaks to having such a strong network of friends, because last summer, like I was back home, I didn't see one person from college from May 5th to August 26th. And I remember that, and I was very disappointed by that, because I missed a lot of the people I hung out with. Well, this summer, I probably saw about 50 to 100 college students, if not more, from Shippensburg that I was able to hang out with and enjoy my time. So it was a fantastic summer, and again, speaks volumes to the social support system that something like Kappa Sigma was able to provide me, because it really set the foundation good for this semester and grown the connections that I do have in the fraternity. But again, I would say, so just I'm going to bring Drew back in for a second actually as well, because I'm going to kind of pitch the same thing that I pitched earlier to Ethan. I don't know if you have any questions in mind that you want Andrew and I to kind of talk about on the show, like what your perspective is, again, as a newly initiated brother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you guys are, you're a junior, right, Rainey?
I am. Yes, I am.
So you're both juniors. I've only been here a brother for 5 days now.
Yeah.
So since you guys are juniors, almost seniors, and you have a lot more experience being a part of the organization, what are some benefits that you've gotten, that you've personally noticed in your life, that you've had from being a part of Kappa Sigma?
So I think the first one is the professional aspect of the work that I get to do. So being in charge of the social media, this is something I talk about regularly on the show and what that means for me. Getting some experience with video production, what it looks like to coordinate a scripted out video with scripted shots, things like that. We're working on a good project right now. We're going to do some filming for it actually this weekend related, and for the public at large, you'll be able to see that shortly, hopefully, and hopefully it'll be a good package, because I'll be responsible for creating it. But that type of stuff is so important to me because it tells a good story. It's something I can talk about, something interesting. It's like, well, what's something that you're able to do? Like, what exactly does it mean? You say public relations chair Kappa Sigma on your resume. What's that look like? Well, here's what it looks like. It looks like getting 30 of the brothers down there to film this 10-second part, and then the video quality is terrible, so you have to reshoot the thing, and you have to get everybody buy into it, be patient with it, so that way you can post it on Instagram and get the most shares you've ever had on a post in the account's history. So that's what it looks like from a professional aspect from it. But I would say my social happiness is second to none at this point. This is the happiest I've ever been on this campus, and it's because of being in the fraternity. I could say the support system is just, it's so strong, and it's something that's been so special to me because I was looking for that, especially in my second year of being here. I was looking for a strong social support system, and Kappa Sigma has been the place for it. That's why I always scoff at people who often look at it and just like, you're paying for friends. And maybe that's what it looks like from the outside, but at the end of the day, I don't care. You don't put a price on your happiness. And I am the happiest I've ever been. And again, it's because of my involvements with the fraternity. It's also because of my involvements with everything else. And it's stressful. Like, it is stressful. Because I can tell you this, Drew, like, whenever you're looking to pursue with the chapter down the road, if it is executive leadership, and I know we talked about that a little bit at the beginning, if it is that, it's going to be stressful. It's going to test your relationships, it's going to test your friendships, but it's worth it because you care. It's worth it because resolving those conflicts, that does, at the end of the day, it strengthens those friendships. It's a great opportunity for it. So I think the best advice I can give you is to just embrace it, put in good work, and the more work you put in, the more love you're going to have for your organization and the more love you're going to have for your brothers.
Yeah, that's definitely that's a great point, Luke. I mean, that's literally what I tell people every single day, especially like the new guys. I say the best way to get the best experience out of it is to get involved. Like, I get on the people that do nothing. I'm like, please get involved. Like, Colin, I know you're probably not listening, but like, I wish you'd get involved. I love you, dude. Please. But I digress. I'm sure everyone loves that. But I don't know. That's the best thing, is to get involved. Like, that's the thing I did, is I got involved with social. I got involved with Rush. I got involved with all that. And honestly, I just started, like, picking Trenton's brain, picking, the older guys' brains, and just asking questions. So, like, what do you want to get involved in? What all do you want to get out of Kappa Sigma, so that, like, when you graduate, this is what you got? Like, I know that could be considered a broad question, but, like, what are you really trying to get out of the organization? / what are you trying to put into the organization?
Well, definitely, one of my main goals for joining was definitely involved with, like, what connections I can make with current brothers, alumni, because there are many people in high position powers in the world that were a part of fraternities, let alone just Kappa Sigma in itself. So I definitely saw that as an advantage. Also, networking. So you talked about the leadership conference, and there's a few other conferences that go on throughout the Kappa Sigma organization. And I've definitely showed interest in going to one of those, because they are, the way that you talked about them, how beneficial they were to you and your mindset of how they've changed you, they definitely really sound interesting. So that is something that I want to get out of it personally. Something that I want to put in, like, my own interest in. Luke Hilligus has been talking to me about this. He's the treasurer, but he's trying to set up an apparel chair. And he's asked me if I was interested. I've told him that I was interested, because he said it's a really, really too much on top of all his other stuff that he has going on. But I would definitely want to try and take over that a little bit. Definitely need some help, though, because that's a lot of stuff that needs to go right for that to work. But it would be really interesting to help design T-shirts, help design Rush shirts, anything like that. As well as, like, I think we're getting jerseys soon.
Finally.
For what is it, Rush?
Yeah, they're going to serve as our Rush shirts in the spring.
Yeah, so that'll be really cool. I do want to help as much as I can with that. Also, like I was talking about with Rainey earlier, I do really want to help get involved with scholarship. So making sure guys are getting their library hours in, making sure our GPA is up, because that's important. That's important. Like, yes, you're a part of Kappa Sigma, but the first thing that you're a part of in the first place is Shippensburg University. You're a student, first of all.
Exactly. I mean, you're here to get a degree. I mean, yes, people go on, non-trajectory paths. Some people are here longer than 4 years, which is perfectly okay, because everyone does things differently. But, that's your number one responsibility, is to get your degree, to leave college, go out into the work field, and then, make money to be able to support yourself, support your family, and stuff like that. That's important. Then, it's almost like using, think of like having like, a tool belt, and like use Kappa Sigma as like a part of your tool belt, like something that's gonna ultimately propel you into your future. Like, that's what I've used it as. And Luke brought up the word professionalism earlier. Like, I've just learned professionalism, like, learn how to properly dress, learn how to properly talk to people, learn how to be respectful, to hold people accountable. And then, yes, we did just bring up the conference. So, Kappa Sigma does have 2 conferences. We have the Leadership Conference, and then we have the Grand Conclave. They're on a rotational period. So we have the Leadership Conference for 2024, which was located in New Orleans, Louisiana. I really don't want to go back there. Side topic, just don't ever want to go back there again. And then we have the Grand Conclave in 2025, which is taking place in Las Vegas. And, that's pretty awesome. Hopefully I don't break the bank. I know some brothers that I've spoken to have already talked about how they're going to break the bank. Let's be financially responsible, guys. But, I don't know. I'm just incredibly excited. I mean, with the Grand Conclave, they pay for 2 members to go, but anyone can go. So, that is my number one piece of advice is no matter what, if you're paid for or not, go. Go and, just listen to these people. I consider myself a sponge. I'm always, soaking in the knowledge of other people. There's actually a brother from another organization in Tennessee that wants to connect with me and talk to me because they recently got their charter back. And he was like, hey, man, I really like what you guys are doing and all that. I'd love to hop on a conference call with you and just pick your brain and see what's going on. And I'm like, let's do it, man. Yeah, I feel a little bit like a bad person. He asked me to do that in July. It's now November. My bad. But life gets busy. But, yeah, that's just ultimately what the best thing of advice is, to get involved, ask questions, and kind of go from there.
Yeah, and what we have is just a few more minutes left to go in the program. And like we said, we've been listening to Greek Speak here on WSYC 88.7 FM from Shippensburg University in Shippensburg, PA. If I asked you guys what's one thing you wish you would have done a little bit more during your flight process,
Don't say that.
Well, we need something. I can't think right now.
Ask who your favorite brother is. Someone please say Michael.
All right, so we are back at it here on Greek Speak with Drew Williams and Ethan Karras this week. It has been a great discussion, so just to kind of wrap it up, just pick your brain a little bit. Again, you guys are new, so you just started to meet a lot of people for the first time in the past few months. Who's your favorite brother? And it doesn't have to be me, it's okay. Who's your favorite brother and why?
This is a hard one.
Currently, the suspense is palpable in this room right now.
They don't even have to be active.
Oh, then it's Michelangelo.
Yeah, Michelangelo,
yeah.
a brother of Kappa
Yeah.
Sigma. So that's one of the things that's cool about Greek life, I think, is the history. It goes back centuries. Michelangelo painted the Sistine Chapel and all sorts of incredible artwork. He is a brother of Kappa Sigma. So Michelangelo is the man for sure. So,
for a current brother,
yeah.
for current brother, it's definitely either. Let's go. I don't want to ruffle any feathers here. Wayne Laws, Andrew Mercier, and Luke Hilligus. I'll name my 3. I'm not gonna name my 1.
Yeah, well, Wayne Laws, he is, so we talk about Big Little program that we do for mentorship purposes, and he is your big, and yeah, Wayne is certainly a character, and obviously Andrew and Luke, both the executive leaders. So in order to have executive leadership in a fraternity, you got to have a lot of charisma to you. So those are 3 good options. But Ethan, the ball is now in your court to answer the same exact question. Your 3 favorite brothers of Kappa Sigma.
Well, JR is for sure not in that list.
So Justin, he's our procurator, so that's unfortunate for him for sure. But still currently waiting for some responses.
I just think he's a little too old for this list here, so I'm gonna have it in an age range, not graduating.
Okay.
So I'd say Mike Castle, Luke Hilligus, and Drew Mercier, and JP and Brody. I have to throw a few more in.
Yeah, all good picks for sure. And well, Asher Andrews got to be honored. He has made it on both of your lists, number 1, and obviously Mike Castle. It's again the Big Little program right there. Mike ends up being your big this last semester. So how did that connection get started? Just out of curiosity between you and Mike.
Honestly, it happened last semester. We were just at the house, and him and I weren't talking, but I was just walking around talking to other people, and then started talking to him. And we just kind of got a connection from that. He then started talking to me more over the summer about like what is in store for a Kappa Sig. And then when I got here, he was very open and welcoming and helped me a lot with a bunch of different stuff. So he's just one of the nicest people I've ever met on this campus.
Yeah, very polite. And that was something that I had valued too in my big selection with Jack Burkhart, was again his always pleasant, just his sweet demeanor, really.
Sweet boy.
Yeah, that's the nickname we give him. We give him Sweet Boy as our nickname because, again, just a very pleasant person. And he was always approachable, friendly anytime that I interacted with him. And I was like, he's going to be my big. And I think that pick surprised people, but it was also something that I knew I'd value in a relationship with, in that friendship with him. So Burkhart's been a great big, and I hope Castle is able to do the same for you. And your family line should hopefully be in good hands with you now. You now a part of it, and who knows what that will lead to in future semesters and years. And obviously, for Drew, I wish you the same with Wayne. And that friendship for sure is going to be interesting. I think that's two kind of post personalities that you wouldn't necessarily expect would mesh together great, but they do. There's something that works because at the end of the day, we all are a part of Kappa Sigma. So this has been one heck of an hour so far here on WSYC 88.7 FM. And we appreciate all of you for listening to the conversation. There's going to be more to come in another week. So, like I said, you can always find us here Fridays at 10 a.m. So thank you very much for listening. And until next week, we'll be seeing all of you later.
Bye, Luke. I hope that got